So Lorraine, it's so nice being back here at the Adelaide Healing Energy Centre. It
It's
feels like it's been so long. And you've got these new beautiful surroundings.
I know. We're so lucky to have this building.
It's absolutely divine, and I love this healing room space. I thought nothing could be better than the ones that I used to come to, because there was a lot of purple. You've changed your colours.
We have. Yeah, we've changed the energy, and I think, you know, you're always growing and changing, and we're always in change, and business is in change as well, and the way we do healing changes constantly, and the way we do everything changes. So we change our colours, we change the direction that we're going in based on what people need. And you know, for instance, the business now has a coffee shop so that they can linger, and a lot of people come in because they're stressed and they just want to sit and relax, and from there they then will come and talk about what they'd like to do.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I know, I mean, what would it have been? It would have been maybe 2008?
Yes.
That I think I moved to South Australia in 2007. I think it took me a year or so to find you, so I think it would have been 2008 that I came across you guys. And you know, it's amazing to think when I came in the doors of your centre for the first time, how much emotional baggage I had stored. I mean,
looking back.
Yeah, looking back, and I remember you saying to me, just give me 3 months with you, you know, just give me, and that was obviously coming every week, but you know, I really thought when you said that, I thought, oh no, you don't know how much baggage I've got, love. And you know, and look, I must admit, you know, like it's awakened the spiritual person that I naturally am anyway, but I wasn't in that zone at all. I was reaching out for help, but I certainly wasn't this spiritual person that I am now. I honestly believe that first healing that I had, which I believe was with PETA, and if that hadn't have been so significant that I couldn't explain something major had gone on, some sort of weird shift, I may not have come back. I mean, I may have, but that was so significant to me, what came out of that spiritual counselling and then the energetic healing, because I didn't know what the hell that was, you know.
Do you know, I think that's a really good point you've just raised, because the pressure is definitely on us as healers to make an impression in the first healing and to make certain that the person goes away having seen noticeable change.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you hadn't seen noticeable change, you wouldn't have come back.
Probably not.
So we are definitely under pressure to deliver the goods in the first meeting and in the first healing, to show people that we know where to take them, we get them, we understand them, we know what the issues are, we've got the keys, we've got the tools. So it's really about getting the confidence of the client and really being able to do our stuff really to win that client over so that they will come back.
And that's the thing too, like I think for me, I have always been a fairly impatient person, and I know that's something that I've got to work on, but I think I didn't believe deep down in the process of going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist for years and years. I wanted to get on with my life. I wanted to fix whatever problem I had, and I wanted to get on with my life. So I think that was another big thing that I felt like sort of some dot joining had gone on in the first session, and then every session there was just more like major awakenings and aha moments. So your spiritual counselling process to me is something that I think is such a huge strength, and I always try and say to friends, oh, you know, you've got to go and see these people because you're all good, it's not just you. But what is that? What is the difference between the way you'll sit down with a client and you know, that you've never met before, you have no idea what issues they're harbouring? What is the process that you go through that seems to work so well?
Okay, well, the process that I use and the process that I teach is about, in the first instance, sitting and connecting energetically with the client is really important. And I teach that the process is broken up into different parts. So the first part is about getting the client to talk about what's going on in their life now, because that's what they've come about, whatever is happening in their life now. But we also know as the healers that often it's not about the now, but it's about something to do with the past.
Well, it's about how the past is affecting the now.
Absolutely. So we need to get a picture of what's going on in the now. So when a client comes in, I tend to say, look, I want to find out about you before you and I decide what it is we want to do. Because it's really important that the client realises that this is a cooperative thing. We're working together. It's your soul, my soul, working together for the outcome that you require. And it's not me doing all the work, but we're going to do it together. I'm going to lead and show you the way. So once I find out about the now, then we need to find out about the past, you know, the past relationships, the breakups, what are the common patterns, the upbringing, the number they were in the family, so that we can identify the patterns and programs. So I'm looking for patterns, looking for programs, looking for core issues. You know, was this person adopted? Were they the first child, the second child, the third child? And starting to see, was there bullying? Were there accidents? Was there abuse of any type? What are the illness the parents had? What's the family patterns that go back? What's the culture? Because the culture comes into it too. What's the nationality in the culture? So what are the energy patterns? And then explaining to the client that we have this 3-dimensional level where you know what's going on here with all your people and all the things that are going on around you, but there's another level, and we're talking about the energetic plane where something different is playing out. So we as healers are looking at that plane, and as the person is talking to me, I'm seeing that all play out, and I'm able to put that together and see how this goes with that. So whatever the client is telling me, I'm seeing it, and I'm often picking up on the people they're talking about, on what they're feeling. And a lot of clients will say, you've just said exactly what they say about me.
Yeah.
And I say, well, that's because I'm tuning into that boyfriend or that parent, and I'm showing you what's really going on. So I love being able to show the client that this is what's going on this level, but hang on a minute, there's something else playing out up here that has to be resolved. And that will come to energetic ties, it will come to patterning and programming, it will come to the energy that you have around you, the sign you have on your head. And by working through that with the client and getting them to understand that, you can, once you get them to understand that, you can say, well, here's our bucket list then of what we need to do. So how about we start with this? And so once we get that agreement of what we start with, and it might be the current situation with the boyfriend, that is that she can't move beyond because he's about to kick her out of the house. So, you know, we have to deal with that. But we come up with a bucket list, and we try to make certain that the client goes away knowing exactly what it is that they need to be working on. And then we try and encourage them to come back, so we support them through getting everything off the bucket list so that they are free to live in the now, as you talked about in the beginning. Because we shouldn't be living too far in the future, nor should we be living in the past. We should be 100% in the now. So helping them to close the doors to the past is what healing is about. So resolution, and understanding that whatever's happened in the past is building resilience in you. So helping the client get out of this is right, this is wrong, and come to a place of, well, it just is. This is what your story is. This is what's happened to you. So where's it leading you? You know, and what have you gained from it? So helping them to heal the hurts and the pains, and that's the part when we get to the table, letting them express, whether it's releasing anger, whether it's healing the heart, but also connecting them to the divine. That's the part I love. Connecting them to that divine source, which they've never been disconnected from, but they just think they are because they're so laden down with the burdens of what's happening in the 3-dimensional world.
Yeah.
And when you take them beyond that, and you take them back and take them inside and inside their heart, and get them to see this brilliant golden light coming down from the Creator and coming in and healing those wounds from the inside, you're actually showing them how to become their own therapist.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what we want to do.
Mm.
You know, sort of get them unstuck and then give them the tools so that they can just do that themselves.
Well, that is exactly what you've done to me, I have to say. And, you know, it is years and years later. And I've done, obviously, lots of work myself. You know, I've done the Uluru, Energetic Healers course. I've done Healing Your Inner Child weekend workshop. But I've also done my own, you know, reading and all sorts of other things over the years to do that. But I guess the one thing I think that people should know too is that I think that the minute that kind of light gets into your head where you think, I think it's about time that I did something about this, or I think it's about time I went and found someone to help me with this, that is also, you've already grabbed onto the divine.
Yes.
And everything from that point is actually just sort of, you're already there. It's almost like you're flapping out at sea, but someone's thrown you a rope for even just that thought, and it is like just pulling yourself back into, you know, to safety and to just to hope. But
I think when they reach out like that and realise that they do need some outside help, that's when those coincidences happen and you find yourself to the right place.
Yeah.
And one thing leads you to another.
Yeah.
And you have to want to change.
Yeah.
That's the point. Mm. So we can't go out in the street and say, everyone come on in. You've got to want to change and honestly seek.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
When you do, you find what you're seeking.
Yeah, acknowledge that thing that's going on in your head. So the other significant part of your healing process is obviously the, you know, on the bed energetic healing. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've done my energetic healers course, but and I understand a bit about it, having been sort of the patient and doing, but I'm not an expert. I just know that it's amazing, and I believe in energy, and I wish more people understood that there's no point in just sort of getting the therapy, you know, that the grief and all sorts of things can be trapped energetically inside you, and it's so important to get that out. Can you just explain a bit what that process is and how you know where to go and what you are doing?
Okay. So the process is getting the client on the table and getting them breathing. That's the first step. So there's a deep breathing technique that helps the client connect into the emotions. So we get them started with that. I use sprays and oils. So once I've got them breathing, then it's about making a connection to their physical body and calling in the spiritual guides. So I call in her guides and my own guides. And then it's about connecting into her energy field and seeing where you need to go. So the first thing we like to do is to clear the energy field.
Yeah.
And then
around her? Around
her, yes, because we all carry a certain amount of muck around us. So we clear that, and we would have decided which process we were going to use. So it would depend on, we might do an inner child rescue if there's something that's happened in childhood. Mm-hmm. There might be cutting of energetic ties to ex-lovers, for instance, or, you know, somebody that they're having trouble with. There might be some forgiveness processes. There might be cutting ties to parents on the negative side for the emotional genetics that they're carrying. So it depends what we're going to do, but generally it's about getting that energy out of them. And you usually can feel exactly where that energy is, and predominantly in the solar plexus, around the heart and around the physical body. You'll feel the energy sitting there and you'll feel the energy moving as gurgling starts taking place as you start to bring the light in. So once we feel the energy moving, it's about removing it. So we remove as much as we possibly can and then go into whichever process I've chosen.
Right.
In consultation. 90% of the time you're doing an inner child rescue, so you're going back into the past about an incident that may have happened. Let's say, for instance, the first day of school, this person was bullied and never quite got over it, or lost their way home on their first day at school and hated school from then on. So you'd go back to that first day at school, and I would guide the client into seeing that situation happening and then you get her to rescue herself from that situation.
Yeah.
And so then we go through a process of the client is visualizing herself rescuing that little girl or little boy, and then talking to them, healing them, making them feel better. So what you're actually doing is you're separating the person from their emotional self, their wounded child, and then somebody is saving that child and then healing that child, and then you put the child back in the person's heart. So once you've done that process, there's often ties to be cut, energetic ties to be cut with perpetrators. So for instance, you know, hugely successful with sexual abuse people or physical abuse, anyone that's had any abuse in childhood, the inner child rescue is the absolute key, without a shadow of a doubt. It heals those deep, deep wounds that people can be counselled on for years and years, talking about it, but they still have the wounded child inside of them. So you can do all the head work in the world, you can understand it logically, but what about how you feel? What about the emotional damage, the spiritual damage? What about the fact that through physical, emotional abuse, you have had a piece of your spirit taken by the abuser, and that part of you is missing. So the lights go out in that person's eyes because they've lost a part of their spirit. So part of that process would be confronting an abuser in that state, in that meditative state, and taking, remember I said we work on that level.
Yeah.
So on that level, you've taken a part of my spirit,
Yeah.
and God darn it, I'm taking it back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
just
that's
a whole
empowering.
Yeah, it's a whole level that people don't understand, which is I just think well, I tell you what, I've dragged my beautiful friend Vanessa here today who has heard much about you, and but obviously has not been to the healing centre before and hasn't had an energetic healing. And I just thought, I mean, you know, she obviously hasn't, she's fine at the moment as far as I know, emotionally. You know, she's obviously hasn't called you in that sort of now state there's something wrong. But I just thought it would be wonderful if, you know, you two could have a chat and see if she's okay. She's very brave and open to that. But then regardless, do a bit of an energetic healing on her, because I think it would be, even as you said, you know, people, she works around a lot of people all the time, you know, a bit of a clearing of the gunk around her can only benefit her, you know, and yeah, just see what happens.
Absolutely. Sounds wonderful.
You up for it, Vanessa?
Yep, I'm up for it.
I'm ready.
She's always smiling, isn't she?
And then maybe we'll just have a brief chat. So I'd just love to sort of show a little bit about the sort of the starting process, and then we'll leave you to do a proper session, and then I'll be there at the other end if you feel up to it to tell us how you feel.
So Vanessa, I'll just get you to put your hands under, that's right. Now we're going to start by breathing, so I'm just going to get you to breathe into your tummy. Breathe in through your nose, inflating your tummy, and out through the mouth. So keeping the chest still, blowing up the tummy, and out through the mouth. And we're just going to cover your eyes so you can go inside yourself. That's it. Now I'm just going to use some sprays. So you just keep breathing. Your mind is your master and the body is the servant. So just nice deep breaths.